let's revisit the last Kevin Samuels leftover controversy.
First of all, for the people who didn't bother to take the time to understand what the hell I was talking about, I was talking about a concept from communist China, where basically they said that if a woman hadn't been married by the age of 27, she is considered to be what is called a leftover woman, okay? And the reason they had is their reasons. So one of the things they understood is by changing how a lot of women viewed that singleness, would light a fire under them. If prior to 1965 in the black community we were married at a rate of 80%, it's fair to say that feminism and the like have helped women to change their view of things, right? Strong, independent, don't need no man? Fine. Then I said, well, over 35. And here's the thing, it's not me. It's what the men say.
In one of his last videos, the late Kevin Samuels discussed the Chinese notion of a 35-year-old woman, single, unmarried, childless, being considered left over in that society. He used this as a cross-reference for American women of the same age and circumstances in hopes of encouraging younger women to not waste their 20s if they truly intend to get married and have children. Of course, it created a firestorm in this country, especially among the more extreme feminists in the black community.
When are you going to stop lying and stop saying that the problem is not that there are not enough fish? The problem is you're not the right bait. The problem is you focused on your career. You focused on your career. You focused on dealing with the wrong dudes, the wrong guys in your youth. You did not prioritize marriage in your youth because you wanted to live a different kind of life. You wanted to eat sushi and travel and this and that and cool. You wanted to do all that. And then you wanted to turn around at 30 years old or at 35 years old with your frozen ass eggs and everything else. And you wanted to turn to the market and you wanted to pick up investment banker. You wanted an investment banker to be there, still pining for you like he did back in college when you were the shit. You wanted to date whoever you dated, do whatever you did, and then you wanted to turn her back around to the market on your terms, on your time frame, and get the kind of man you thought you deserved, and then have that man get on your program. Disney can't make this stuff up.
But was this whole controversy even based on what's really going on in China? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep this new channel growing. An interesting video from 2018 surfaced on my timeline recently that I thought deserved a closer look on this topic of leftover women in China. From this video, and others similar to it that I've seen in the past, the idea of a leftover woman is not exactly as cut and dry as we assume. One of the topics discussed is that the Communist Revolution of the late 1940s ushered in an era where Chinese women were given equal rights, where women entering the workforce were actually celebrated in the 50s.
Those early feminists, who joined the revolution, they experienced so much hardship. They already established all these mechanisms, policies, everything, social institutions, everything, but that can be dismantled. So right now, the generation of young women found themselves again in a worse situation than my generation, right? So they have to refight the battle. Every generation had to fight a battle to pursue a society of justice and equality. Everybody has to fight.
I think a lot of guys in the manosphere and men's advocate groups may have missed this part of the history of Chinese feminism. The label of a leftover woman is not exactly settled in Chinese society, as there is a clash between two groups. Those who pressure women, especially those in the cities, to get married by the time they turn 27, and those who think Chinese women should be able to pursue their career regardless of age and marriage ambition.
China's so-called leftover women. So we met up with a young professional in Beijing.
Actually, I'm just a TOEFL speaking teacher and listening teacher. Was this like your aspiration? Like, was this a job that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I like teaching because I like help people. Yeah, you know, it's just like two-way street. Yeah, I can teach them something and they can just teach me something in a different way. Yeah.
It seems like everywhere you walk in China, you're just surrounded by all these ads of like pretty young girls in wedding dresses.
Yeah, I feel like it's not everybody's so lucky enough to get the one they really want. And I feel like the leftover ladies, I don't feel pity for them or for us because we really know what we want.
An interesting point stressed in the video is that since there are over 20 million more men than women who are single, a lot of Chinese men are also in a way left over. Now, I think part of this labeling of single men is that some modern women have a tendency to say, but what about men? Whenever the focus is on women. However, I actually agree in this case that a lot of men, especially those in rural Chinese areas or who don't own property and cars in big cities like Beijing, are being overlooked by career Chinese women. During the rise of feminism in China, women migrated from remote areas to big cities like Beijing to pursue careers and equality, leaving agricultural men in the countryside with hardly any women to marry. You can find some of that here in the US too, by the way, with some of the farming communities.
Despite the real issue being the leftover men, it's still the women who are berated for leaving their villages to try their luck in the cities, where they can marry up or pursue a career.
In China, unmarried men over the age of 30 are called leftover men, referring to the remaining men who haven't yet found a wife. It's common for a woman to expect a man to own a home before the possibility of a relationship. In poor, rural areas, men are required to pay a high engagement fee to the woman. Consequently, a wedding can push the man's family into further poverty. China's central and provincial TV stations have launched numerous blind date programs. The following are some of the highlights of these programs.
Hello, I'm a girl from Kunming. I haven't worked recently and I'm at home looking for employment. I want a stable job because my monthly expense is about 20,000 to 30,000 yuan or 3,100 to 4,700 US dollars a month. Men who have a stable salary can come and see me. If I don't marry a wealthy man, my looks, my body and my social etiquette, and my good character, my good personality will be ruined.
Unless you marry a rich man, won't these things be ruined?
Yes. My father is an employee of a state-owned enterprise. My mother is a dormitory maid at the university. I have inquired at Jiayuan how rich a man I can marry. One of the staff told me I can marry a man with assets of 20 million yuan or 3 million US dollars. But I want to marry a man with assets of 50 million yuan or 7 million US dollars.
How did he assess that you could marry a man with 20 million in assets?
It's based on my height, weight, and my mindset at the moment. I'm independent, and that's my biggest strength. My requirement is that my partner should have more than 50 million yuan or 7 million US dollars in assets. Because I feel that having a certain amount of personal assets can first prove his personal value, and it proves his ability as well.
How many assets do you expect to find in a man?
More than 100 million yuan. I think I should look for a man with more than 100 million. Because if it's too little, I won't feel safe being together. I'm looking for a rich man. He can readily give me 200,000 yuan. He can readily give me 200,000. The family should be a millionaire, kind-hearted, and have filial piety and love. Mr. Handsome, don't you think I'm pretty? Do you think I'm special?
Now, of course, the video has a decidedly pro-feminist bias. We know how that goes, which I'm not a fan of. But it nevertheless did a pretty decent job capturing the struggle between career Chinese women who become left over and those traditional-minded women who either want to be a stay-at-home wife or want to balance career and marriage early before the leftover age.
The imbalance between men and women in China has historically been the worst in the world due to the Communist Party's long-standing family planning policy. It began on September 25, 1980, when members of the Communist Party took the lead in enforcing the one-child-per-couple rule. On the Chinese internet, the leftover men and leftover women are classified into the following levels: 25 to 27 years old, elementary leftovers. These people still have the courage to continue the struggle to find a partner. 28 to 31 years old, intermediate leftovers who have few opportunities and have no time to look for a partner because of their career. 32 to 36 years old, advanced leftovers who have survived the brutal workplace struggle and are still single. 36 years old and up, special class leftovers. The Chinese word remaining has the same pronunciation as the word sage.
I'll wrap up this video by pointing out an interesting discussion in this clip about Chinese career women who are considered too tough-minded or by their behavior or too strong in their behavior in the workplace and in the public at large. Sound familiar? A lot of American career women, especially sisters or black women, have been given this label. And some of it is warranted among many Western career women because many tend to gradually take on a masculine mindset, whether they realize it or not.
China nowadays is much better than before, more advanced.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not a feminist. Feminists like always just put yourself on the opposite side to the men, like always fight with each other. I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's too strong. Mm-hmm.
The word feminist seems to have negative connotations in China. Even women who tick all the boxes for what a feminist is, like Nicole, will avoid this label. But feminism does still exist in China.
Right, and I love the leftover lady, this concept. I feel like it's a compliment. You are brave to be leftover ladies, and we are still wait for the good relationship. We are still hope for love, for our dreams, our career.
我们看到很多婚姻失败的案例，是因为太仓促了，太匆忙了。那个时候不了解自己，以及不了解对方。
From my experience with love relationships, that is pretty much the most unreliable thing that you can bank your future on. And the most reliable thing, surely, is having a career so that you can support yourself and your children no matter what happens.
But gentlemen, especially those of us who have this blind notion that all Asian women are feminine or docile, we have to begin to realize that modern womanism, though championed in the West in our lifetimes, is actually a worldwide phenomenon with a long history in Asian countries like China.
No matter how excellent you are, how capable you are, in the larger society's mind, you're not as good as a man.
My name is Wei Tingting. I'm one of the feminists who get arrested before the International Women's Day.
Up until the Communist Revolution, women were pretty much considered property and their feet were tied. Then Mao, when breaking the norms of social class and gender, declared that women carry half the sky, and gender equality was written into the constitution.
I would always admit that I'm a beneficiary of the socialist women's liberation.
Gentlemen, I highly recommend you check out the entire video, links below, to get a more balanced idea of the leftover woman controversy in China, so that you know it's not exactly black and white, that they've been going back and forth with it for decades. Some Chinese career women said they are perfectly fine to not be married with kids, that their career is all they need. Now, whether or not they change their minds later when it's too late is another story. But it's good to hear how feminists think, as they are not all of the exact same mindset. There are shades of feminism just like any other ideology.
is New Year, some men are using mobile apps like RentMe to hire fake girlfriends to avoid being forced into marriage by their parents. The cost of renting a fake girlfriend for a day can be up to 10,000 yuan or about $1,450 US.
Some of the comments below the video got rather interesting, and I may do a separate video on some of the more heated discussions. Until there's more clarity between the balance of leftover career women and the traditional wife, the apocalypse of good men will continue. Welcome to the Brother Apocalypse.